Canaris stuffed it in. Tremendous goal. Gary Gait leaped over the cage and stuffed it in.
Everyone knows Syracuse football has 44. Well, Syracuse lacrosse has their own number, 22.
It really started with Coach Simmons Jr. putting the 22 on certain players, and definitely Gary Gait. Having 22 on him, and maybe the greatest lacrosse player of all time.
I think there's an immense amount of pride that they take in trying to be as good and live up to what the 22 means.
Hopefully what I did is create a legacy of excellence, of hard work. That's all I ever tried to do, and I walked away. I didn't know the number was going to be a legacy type thing. I think that was Coach Simmons' decision and something that he developed. And all I did was play the game.
Kids know about it. Kids want it. It's a target. If you've got an orange jersey on as 22, you're liable to draw a lot of attention.
And number 22 is hanging out with us as we speak. Gary Gait, good seeing you. Good to see you in person.
Yes.
Right? That's the
nice
thing. We've had you on the show.
Yeah,
we've had him on the show so many times.
Men's, women's, whatever.
It's all good. By the way, when you see those highlights, I mean, I was watching your face when I was actually watching the highlights. Well, what pops in your head? I mean, you had to have it. I mean, come on. You got to have some pride for that.
Well, just pride to see my old coaches on there talking about the old days in Syracuse lacrosse, and thoughts of, I'm still surprised myself when I, think about the fact that I'm now the head coach and I'm now the guy in charge, and I never thought that would ever happen. Never thought it, never dreamt about it, never thought about it, but somehow it just happened.
I do want to say, last week when we were here for women's, Pack and I teamed up with Charlotte North to do a little one-on-one tutorial, and we tried the air gate thing. I'm just going to say, we're going to leave that to you. It was not pretty.
No broken bones.
It was not pretty.
No. The highlight was no broken bones. Just put things totally in perspective.
Yeah, well, you do fun stuff like that. They just change the rules so you can't do it anyway, so no worries.
How about the excitement level, though, for what's about ready to take place here? I mean, coming up 5 o'clock, it's go time. I mean, 4 great teams are going to really showcase what this sport's all about.
It's really the premier lacrosse conference in the country, and if things play out a certain way, I honestly think you could see 1 through 4 in the NCAA tournament, all ACC, or at least I think they should deserve that if it plays out a certain way, for sure.
That's us asking the bracket gods to do it the right way.
Right.
I know there's no auto bid in terms of this ACC championship. It's back for the first time since 2019. What's the significance, though, of winning a conference championship this weekend?
It's about why we're having it. It's for the players to have something to compete for.
Right.
A championship. Regular season's great, and hats off to Notre Dame, the regular season champs. But it's different when you play in a tournament format. 2 games over 3 days, and you have a chance to hoist the ACC Championship trophy up, and the history behind the great programs that have come before us, and it's tremendous. So this is just an exciting opportunity for the athletes, and I was certainly in favor of bringing it back, and I think it's benefited us the way we do our schedule now compared to the last few years. So I'm all in.
You get the double dip here because we're going to lead off with Notre Dame and Virginia, then you guys follow up against Duke. As far as that match goes, 2 great attack units, right? I mean, the cool thing about these 4 teams is there are stars galore. You got experience, you got young players, and I think for the sport, for folks who are maybe sampling it for the first time, I'm just going to tell you, man, 5 o'clock, put the remote down. You're going to be thoroughly entertained throughout the course of the day and night. But what about the matchup with Duke?
Well, our matchup with Duke is, I'm sure they're not happy with the way the last game went up in the Dome. Our defense played tremendous and held them to 4 goals. I think that's like 16 years since they scored that few of goals. So I'm sure they're going to come out fired up and ready to compete, and they want to prove that they're much better than that against us.
Coach, second halves have been a thing for you guys. Goals allowed in the second half, no one better in the ACC than you guys, if we're going to stick to the defensive theme. What's the method to the madness there? What's the mojo in that sauce? What about your team has been so good in that department? There's got to be a little something to it.
You know, I think we make adjustments pretty well, and I think if you look at the quarters, probably our third quarter is our best quarter defensively. And my hat's off to Coach O'Dearna, our defensive coordinator, who is very good at making adjustments. And it's been fun getting to know him and working with him, and bring him in as to coach with the Orange. And he's done a tremendous job, and he's improved our defense dramatically from the last couple of years.
Coach, the other thing too, we're down here in the Carolinas, the sport is obviously starting to grow and take off, but where you are in Central New York, and we've tried to explain this during the course of the show, that this is like baseball is to the South for what you guys do with lacrosse, both the men's and the women's side. The interest level in the sport in your backyard, I mean, people, this is one of those things, it's 24/7, 365.
Well, you know what? I'm going to have to say that it's not like that right now.
So set the record straight then.
Unfortunately, since COVID, lacrosse has dropped in its growth, and it hasn't grown since COVID. And in our areas, it's slowed down quite a bit, and the numbers have been reduced. It really comes down to the way kids get opportunities to play, and we are involved in a project for Syracuse cities to try and bring back youth lacrosse in the city. We used to have 3 or 4 high school teams that were city high school teams, and many of their alums came to Syracuse and played.
Right.
Currently, there's 1 team for 4 high schools, and they barely can put a roster together. The youth development, there used to be 3 different youth programs within those different schools, and now there's 1. And we're doing our best as a team. I know Kayla with the women's team's really been supportive, and we've been trying to grow the game. We go to the schools, we do things. We want to try and get 3 or 4 of those high schools to have teams again, and we want the youth programs to flourish. So we need to do the work, and we're trying.
As far as crowd support goes and everything else, though, there's always been a fire for Syracuse.
Oh yeah, and that's been another project of mine, is to try and bring back our attendance. And it always helps when you're winning.
Right.
But you got to get out there and be in the community, and we've been doing that. And back in watching the video, we were averaging almost 12,000 a game back in the late 80s, early 90s, and now we're down to under 5,000. So my goal is to grow our attendance on campus. We went up about almost 1,000 per game this year, and we had some of our biggest crowds we've had in the last 10 years or so. So we're getting there, but it's about being involved. It's about having our players out in the community so people get excited and don't want to just sit and watch it on TV. They want to come out and see it live.
They're local heroes when it's all said and done. So being out in the community, I know, is important. And if we're going to talk about building, and I know you're big into building and all of that stuff, this team too has been a process that you've taken over to get back to where you are right now. And then certainly beyond that is the goal. But this year's team has taken that next step. And we've talked earlier with Anish and Matt just about the youth of your team. Like, there's a lot of experience in this league, but there's some youth on your team. What have you been proudest of in terms of your unit and how well they play together this year?
Well, you can look at the all ACC teams. We were picked to finish last by the other teams, and we finished 3-1. And the other 3 teams both behind us finished 1 and 3. So we clearly have done something right with the kids we picked. We had 3 players make the all ACC team, which was 4th, amongst the 5 teams. So we're getting it done with guys that we believe are super talented and can get it done, and we're creating chemistry, and we got them buying in that they're as good as these all-stars that we're playing, and they're trying to just demonstrate what a great culture and a great team can look like.
Coach, I'm just glad to hear that's the coaches that screwed up the preseason poll, because normally that's all about us in the media, because we never get it right ever. So I'm glad to see that you guys couldn't figure it out in the preseason.
No, I think we deserve to be dead last pick, but that was exactly what a coach wants, to be able to tell their team that these
Nobody
guys don't
thinks
think
you're
you're any good. Let's go out and prove them different. And as coaches, we pick these players because we think they fit our systems and they fit the way we're playing, and it appears to be working. So we're happy with the kids we brought in.
Taylor, if you don't ask a question about your favorite player, I'm going to walk right.
I wasn't going to. I was actually. I know he wants me to ask about Joey Spallina, which we can get to in a second because he's been great. Obviously, leads the team in points. But if we're going to talk about stars, and I feel like a name that doesn't get talked a ton about necessarily, but deservedly so in all ACC members, Owen Hiltz. And I think he's been great for you guys. And I know you would feel the same as a leader, obviously as a player. His impact, how do you measure that for this Orange team?
Well, in the ACC games, he's been our leading point scorer.
Yeah.
He certainly had his best game against Virginia last week. And he was a #2 recruit in his class when he came in. He's super talented, so he's so unassuming and plays such a laid-back style that he really puts the team first. So most of his big plays are off feeds and passes. So you don't really notice him as much as like a guy that dodges and makes dynamic shots and goals and that. He does it quietly, but he's certainly very, very talented and has a high lacrosse IQ.
All right, so Pac doesn't walk away. Let me ask you about one Joey Spallina. Year 2 for him, coming off of a great freshman year. His impact on this team and how he kind of helps run the show for you guys.
He does. He's unbelievable. Unfortunately, what people don't realize is that he is picking up the best defender in the best conference from every single team. And, he's still making plays, but he's creating space and opportunities for his teammates. And that is incredibly selfless, what he's doing. He could go in and try to do it over and over himself, but, he knows that this team's going to have more success if he does his job, take the best defender out, don't let him help, don't let him slide, and, take advantage of the opportunities he gets, which he does. And, it's just really great signs of a true team player.
Coach, thanks for saving me from walking 45 minutes back home by answering that question regarding Joey. Because I was going to, if she did not ask that question, I was out of here. I'm out of here.
Take it from here.
Joey's just awesome. He wants to be great, and he's going to be great. And he is great. So.
You're great, my man. You have done so much for the sport. We look forward to watching both these games coming up. But you guys got the doubleheader, so chill out in the meantime. We'll see what happens.